Here on Treaty 7 territory, nestled in the Rocky Mountains with the mighty Bow River at an altitude of 1,309 meters. Born from coal dust in 1884 and ever-changing, this is Canmore, and we are Canmorites, and this is the Canmorite Podcast. Let's go! Hey there, it's me, Jeff, from the Canmorite Podcast, and here we are, we're chugging along the campaign trail. A few days in already. A couple days ago we had our first forum at the Malcolm, and it was hosted by TCK and a various bunch of other organizations, and it was a good forum. It was well run. I think the questions were handled quite professionally, and I could also tell that right away. I think every election has issues that define the moment, and I think probably one of the biggest issues that are going to define like this election is the livability tax, right? And so the livability tax, our council, and I'm proud of it, we brought it in, right? Because basically, at the end of the day, we need more housing. This is the way we make it happen. Chances are, if you're watching this video and you're local, people have had to move away. Quick story, I remember my daughter and I, earlier this summer, she was kind of upset. We're driving around in the car, I could tell she was kind of off. I'm like, what's up? And she just found out that her best friend had to move away. And I think one of the interesting things about this situation was her best friend, her parents had great jobs. One's an engineer, the other one was a teacher, and they were truly contributing to the community. But in terms of the housing piece, they got priced out. So we then kind of went through this bit of exercise like, hey, Paige, my daughter, like, how many friends do you think have actually had to move away? And she started counting on her hands. And it didn't take very long before she ran out of fingers on those two hands. And for a kid that's in grade 5 to have lost that many friends, right? That many people that have had to, had started in this community and then had to go, I gotta admit, that's kind of heartbreaking. And that's not the Canmore that I think is what we're really looking for here. During that forum, you could see some candidates were like very resolute in, moving forward with the livability tax. And you had other candidates who were kind of like hemming and hawing, right? Maybe they're trying to like get votes, or maybe they weren't exactly sure. But for myself, I think we got to go full steam ahead. The livability tax right now is probably the most powerful tool that we have for gaining a lot of money to initiate housing projects, okay? The crux of it is with housing, it takes time and it's expensive, okay? You can't just like snap your fingers and have housing show up. And so they actually pump the brakes and say, oh, we should try something else. We should like wait. We should do another time of it. We should ponder a little bit more. Kicking the can down the road like another year is not helpful. If you are a family that's struggling to live here, I don't think you need to see your town leadership deciding to rearrange the deck chairs while the ship is sinking. Right? Like these things need to move forward, and we got to move forward as fast as we can. Now, the good news is, we do have land, the Palliser lands. We have a whole bunch of land that we can energize that with housing, right? We just got our first building broke ground, 100 Palliser Lane, and that's like 144 units of rental. That's huge. Like that's a big piece, but we need more. Like the list of housing we are thousands of units short, right? Because we are in the middle of a housing crisis. Not enough units. To respond to a crisis, you got to be timely, and this is what we need to do. Sure, there are other things that we will do as well, but when it comes to making houses, money's the biggest piece. Okay, we just got to energize that with funding. There's also talk at the forum about, well, what do you think about resort municipality status? Well, I also believe in unicorns and leprechauns. Like the challenge with resort municipality status is that our community, numerous councils, they've been on the hunt for that for 2 decades. We have looked long and we've looked hard. Like this last term when we got in, we actually worked with a couple other communities. Banff, Jasper also facing challenges. We even brought in some other communities like Drumheller, Sylvan Lake, places where tourism is starting to like really affect the housing piece. And we're like, hey, why don't we all approach the government and see if they would be willing to help us as tourism and communities be viable so we can drive the economic engines of Alberta from a tourism standpoint. And you know what? We got nothing, no interest, right? And so you hit the definition of insanity of trying to do the same thing over and over, hoping for a different result. And when there's lives at stake and there's a community at stake, I really don't think it's great leadership to continue to hang your hopes on something that has not happened in 20 years, okay? And probably won't happen unless there's some significant change. So in the meantime, because it is an emergency, we got to do what we can do, right? Are the tools we have perfect? No. Was the livability tax the first thing we wanted to do? No. But at the same time, it's also legal and it's legit. We knew that this was going to be a contentious thing. But when we crafted the legislation, we had our legal team, we looked at it all. We even took it back to the province to say, hey, province, we are looking at the MGA. This is what we feel works. Just let you know what you think. And they're like, you know what? You're right. It totally works. You're allowed to do it. It's in your purview. So we did it. And then, we had a group that didn't like it, Fair Futures Canmore, and they challenged it. And we won that too. So, there's appeals and such. But in the meantime, at the end of the day, we have not done anything untoward. What our council has done and what our people are supporting livability tax, we are doing our best with what we got. We have threaded the needle to try and make this work. I think also when it comes to the housing piece, you have to understand too that a lot of the bigger challenges that can happen to communities, such as crime, homelessness, that sort of stuff starts to escalate when you have a lack of housing, right? And so if you enjoy this community and believe in it and being inclusive, and you don't want to see those elements, you got to realize that housing people across the whole spectrum is huge. And a lot of the livability house, we're trying to drive housing towards it's not social housing. We're driving that housing towards these are great people, families, people trying to get started to make a go of it. There's a huge loss as well. Part of my heart kind of breaks when I think of these people leaving is that they think of all the amazing ideas, initiatives, businesses, friendships, things that they could have brought. That human capital, that energy and inspiration, I don't want to see it go down the highway. I want it to stay here in Canmore and make this place even better, right? Because really at the end of the day, that's what I'm super interested in, is a holistic community that can really, really grow. So yeah, for those of you guys, keep in mind, I'm sure this will show up and there's only some more forums. This question will be hot. And I really hope, everyone gets informed. And when you're voting on Monday, October 20th, really ask yourself, what kind of community is it you're looking for? Think about the people that, are maybe housing insecure. Maybe you've had friends that have had to leave, and know that, here's a council and here are candidates who are trying to push an idea and a solution. And, it's not easy. I know it's not perfect, but at least it's a way forward. So with that, stay tuned. There'll be more episodes in Canmore Podcast coming up shortly. It's just been a hectic time, and I just want to give everyone a bit of a recap of what's been happening. So in the meantime, stay safe, stay kind, and don't forget to vote on Monday, October 20th. Thanks.